Hi, subscribe to the channel. News stories every day. Let's get started. My name is Jacob Russell. I'm 42, living in the suburbs of Seattle. I've been married to Avery, 40, for nearly 15 years. We have no children, something we both initially wanted, but never got around to. Our life was neither extraordinary nor miserable. It was just there, humming along. I worked as a tech consultant, traveling occasionally, while Avery worked part-time at a local design store and spent the rest of her time managing the house. She always said she wanted more from life, but so did I. I guess we just figured we'd get around to more eventually. But recently, she'd been acting strange, quietly withdrawing, or else distracted and anxious. At first, I blamed it on stress from her job. She mentioned finding herself, which I shrugged off. Maybe she was going through a midlife crisis. Fine, I thought we can handle it together if she just talks to me. But that's the thing, she didn't talk. One Friday evening, I came home from work, exhausted and hungry. Avery was in the kitchen, rummaging through the fridge, muttering about old ingredients. The moment I stepped in, her phone, which was lying on the living room coffee table, began buzzing. She didn't hear it over the clamor, so I moved to pick it up. My eyes flicked to the screen, an unknown number. I answered without thinking. Me, Jacob. Hello. Hello. No one spoke. It was just silence, or maybe faint breathing. Then they hung up. Weird. I took the phone down. The lock screen was still open, showing a partial text conversation. Avery normally kept no lock code on her phone. She used to say, "What's there to hide?" That had always given me comfort. But now it felt like a gateway to something I didn't want to see but couldn't ignore. The snippet read, "Miss you. Can't wait to see you. Are you alone?" My stomach lurched. I tapped it, heart pounding. I know it's not exactly noble, but suspicion got the better of me. The chat with Troy Bank popped open in full, lines of flirty messages. Troy, it's so late, but I want to hear your voice. Avery, Jacob's here, can't talk now. Troy, tomorrow then. Avery, yes, definitely, miss you. I stared, jaw clenched. Bank, I recognized no Troy in our circle of friends or acquaintances. Then the call log revealed several missed calls from that same number. My hands trembled. I heard Avery's footsteps in the kitchen, so I quickly locked the phone and set it down. She walked in, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Who was that calling?" she asked. I plastered on a mild expression. "Not sure." They didn't say anything. She frowned, glancing at her phone. Huh, strange. She set the phone in her pocket. Anyway, dinner's going to be simple, frozen pizza or something. I'm too tired to cook. Sure, I said, forcing a casual nod, but inside my thoughts were chaotic. The Troy investigation. That night, once Avery was asleep, I eased out of bed and slipped into the living room. She'd left her phone on the couch. I know it was an invasion of privacy, but I felt justified. Quietly, I unlocked it. The chat with Troy was still there. I scrolled up. They'd apparently met about 3 weeks ago in a grocery store, started chatting because he worked at a local bank branch. The conversation turned flirty fast. Terms like, "I'm so drawn to you. I feel alive around you," peppered with heart emojis. My chest tightened reading them. I copied his number into my own phone. Then I read how he asked Avery for lunch. She joked about how she'd figure out an excuse to slip away from me. My jaw clenched. So this was no mild acquaintance. They'd been meeting in person. My mind reeled. They slept together. The messages were borderline explicit. Then I saw a mention of a plan to go for a drive up the coast. Possibly it hadn't happened yet, but the intention was there. I locked her phone, returning it to the couch. My heart hammered, a mixture of anger and heartbreak. The next day, while Avery went to the store, I made calls. First, I tried the unknown number from my phone. It rang a few times, then a male voice answered. Yeah. I froze, then hung up immediately. He texted me, "Who is this?" I didn't respond. My plan was to find out more about him. Searching online for Troy number, local bank, I eventually discovered a partial LinkedIn profile linking him to a Troy Collins, who indeed worked at a local bank branch. He was in his mid-20s if the profile was correct. I felt a wave of nausea that he might be 15 years younger than Avery. This stung even more. Meeting Troy. Stoking my anger, I decided to confront him. I found out which branch he worked at. I parked outside waiting for him to leave. Around 5 p.m., I spotted a young man in a stylish blazer stepping out. Brown hair, fit, sporting a confident stride. I recognized him from a small profile photo on a LinkedIn page. My heart pounded. I approached him. "Troy," I said, voice tight. He glanced at me, brow furrowed. "Do I know you?" "I'm Jacob, Avery's husband." His eyes widened briefly, then he shrugged. "Oh, right. What are you doing with my wife?" My voice trembled with anger. "What do you want from her?" He frowned, glancing around. "Look, man, I didn't know she was married at first. We met, we talk. That's all." "It's not just talk," I hissed. "I read your messages. You two are crossing lines." He raised his hands. "Hey, we just started. We're not serious, I swear. She told me you guys were basically separated." I clenched my jaw. "That's a lie. She never said a word about separation." He swallowed, looking uneasy. "I'm sorry, look, I'll back off if it's a big deal. But I can't control her, you know." "Don't feed me that." My voice rose. "You better end it or we'll have a bigger problem." Troy squared his shoulders. "I get it. I'll cut contact. We've only been chatting. Nothing major happened." He paused. "She's not exactly telling me the full story." I exhaled shackly. "Don't you ever approach her again." He shrugged. "Fine. I'll keep my distance." I left it at that, turning away before my temper got the best of me. My mind reeled with conflicting feelings, relief if he truly ended it, but fear that Avery might just find another Troy. The evening at home. That night, Avery seemed tense, hardly meeting my gaze as we ate dinner. I noticed her phone face down on the table. She kept glancing at me, chewing her lip. I probed gently. "Everything okay?" She forced a smile. "Work problems." "Tiring day." I nodded, but inside I was waiting for her to mention Troy. She didn't. Instead, she retreated early to bed, claiming a headache. I sighed, recalling the conversation with Troy. Maybe it was over, I told myself. I tried to let the matter drop. For weeks, it stayed quiet. She didn't mention meeting anyone, and the suspicious phone calls stopped. Life resumed a fragile normality. I half convinced myself it was behind us. Another clue, men's gloves. But illusions often break down. A few months later, I borrowed Avery's car because mine needed repairs. I rummaged around, checking the seat, adjusting mirrors, etc. That's when I found them, a pair of men's leather gloves on the passenger seat, or more accurately, partially tucked under the seat. They were definitely not mine, too small, and had an initial M embroidered inside. My heart sank. So there was someone else now, or maybe the same guy under a different pretense. I brought the gloves inside, carrying them carefully. She was preparing dinner, chopping vegetables at the counter. I placed them on a plate at the dining table, letting them rest there. Then I quietly said, "Avery, dinner's ready." She turned, saw me seating myself, the gloves perched on her plate. Her eyes widened, color draining from her face. "Jacob, what are those?" she stammered. "They're men's gloves," I said flatly, "found in your car." She swallowed, cheeks flushing. I gave a colleague a ride. "Maybe they're his." She tapped her foot nervously. "Yes, definitely his. He must have left them." "A colleague." I repeated, "Who exactly?" She cleared her throat. "Marcus, he's new at my work. Needed a ride the other day." "So is that all?" I eyed her intensely. "Don't lie to me, Avery." She tried to hold my gaze but failed, glancing away. "It's nothing. We just had coffee." She paused, then added, "Why are you so paranoid?" "Because I recall your last just talk fiasco with Troy." My voice sharpened. "And now you found another younger friend to amuse yourself with." She flushed deeper. "Stop bringing that up. We said we were done with that." She fumbled with the gloves, picking them up and tossing them aside. "I told you, it's a coworker. He needed a lift, that's all." "You're stammering," I pointed out quietly. "You only do that when you're lying." She bit her lip, tears brimming. "Please, can we not do this? I can't handle this tension. Answer me, are you seeing him or hooking up or whatever?" I demanded. "Don't you realize how destructive this is? Are you trying to ruin our family?" She burst into tears. "I never wanted to ruin anything. She paused, sobbing. "I need excitement. I need to feel alive. You never try to understand me." That's not an excuse to cheat, I retorted, pain lacing my voice. We could have done counseling, talked it out. But you hide, you lie, and you use our money for these adventures. She covered her face with her hands, mumbling incoherently. Finally, she turned and ran to the living room, sobbing, and remained at the table, anger swirling in my chest. She was crying. But what about me? What about the trust she shattered? Final decision, divorce. Later that evening, once her tears subsided, I approached her in the living room. She sat hugging her knees on the couch, red-eyed. We stared at each other for a tense moment. Then I said softly, I can't do this anymore, Avery. She sniffled. What do you mean? I'm leaving, I replied. I can't keep living with a wife who entertains other men, who drains our finances, who thinks it's all normal. Her lower lip trembled. No, please don't go. Why? I asked, voice cracking. Give me a real reason. She opened her mouth, but no words formed. Then she let out a weak, because we're married. That's not enough. I said, tears threatening to surface. We had a marriage, yes, but you wrecked it. She reached out. We can fix this, I promise. Too late, I whispered, stepping back out of reach. If you truly loved me, you'd have never done all this. I shook my head. I'm deciding for us. I'm moving out tomorrow. She made a strangled noise, tears dripping down. I do love you. No, I said calmly. You love the idea of me as your provider or your fallback, but you don't respect me. Turning away, I went to pack a bag. She followed, weeping, but I ignored her pleas. In the morning, I left. A few days later, I served her divorce papers. She was shocked, demanded more money as a settlement. She threatened to drag it out, said she'd find lawyers. The kids, seeing the gloves fiasco and hearing about her new friend, took my side. They confronted her about her behavior. She stormed out of an argument with them, yelling that she was misunderstood. Ultimately, the divorce was relatively quiet. No major property to fight over. The kids were old enough to choose, and they came with me. She realized she'd lost. The younger man apparently vanished once her meltdown turned serious. She was left alone, with her illusions of best life shattered. Epilogue. In the months since, I found a small rental house where the kids and I settled. They adapt better each day. We share chores, watch silly comedies at night, forging a new routine. Sometimes they mention their mom, but the resentment is clear. She occasionally tries to message me about helping pay bills, or I might want to talk, but I keep it brief and polite. I pay whatever minimal spousal support was agreed upon. But that's it. Dad, do you miss her? Max asked me once. I sighed and admitted, I miss the person I thought she was. He nodded, hugging me. Now, I'm learning to trust again, bit by bit. I've gone a few casual dates, nothing serious. The kids joke, we don't mind if you find someone nicer, Dad. I grin, touched by their support. I'd remain cautious, though. The memory of Avery's betrayal is still fresh, but I'm not jaded. I know not everyone is like her. Sometimes I reflect on that moment I put the gloves on her dinner plate. In a twisted way, it was comedic, but it hammered home the truth. She kept repeating the same pattern. First, there was Troy, the bank guy, then Marcus, the colleague. She never truly changed. Why would I keep fighting a losing battle? Looking back, I see that ignoring small red flags leads to bigger heartbreak. If you see your spouse putting secret phone calls and hush-hush text threads above family well-being, it might be time to ask hard questions or walk away. I did eventually, though I wish I'd seen the signs earlier. Still, life moves on. The kids and I are forging a new path, one less weighed down by lies. That's all I could ask for now. Honesty, clarity, and a future free of illusions.